Hello everyone and welcome back to another session of Every Heart Can Dance. This is Kyryl and today we're diving into 5 big mistakes or misconceptions that can hold you back from feeling free, happy and confident on the dance floor. Stick around. Mistake number 4 is the most technical, whereas mistake number 5 is the one that we're all guilty of at some point of time. So let's dive right in. Alright, the very first mistake and the most common mistake is here. Oftentimes we're trying to create a movement or fix certain movement by focusing only on the one body part that we're trying to move. For instance, if you're trying to move more hips or trying to create better hip action, you're focusing on the hips. Or you're trying to keep your tummy in and you're sucking your tummy in and trying to hold it, right? Sounds very logical. That's the part that we want to address and that's what we act upon. But in reality, that's the biggest mistake because oftentimes what you see is not what people do. So when you see top level dancers moving the hips, they actually don't move the hips. They move their legs and legs already create a hip action. Or regarding the tummy, it's not about the tummy and holding the breath. It's again using the legs and filling in our back just like a parachute. So our legs always working against the floor and keeping it. Another example, if you want to move arms, a lot of people, okay, I'm going to move my arm, but then having really hard time matching it to the body. I always give this example. If you're trying to walk, your arms are reacting to the walk, to your body moving. But if you're trying to move the arm and already match your walking to it, crazy. Very, very difficult. I would say very unnatural. So the idea is the better result of most of the action, if not all, is when we approach them indirectly. Again, wanting to move your hips, you move your legs, your quad. You're thinking about the weight. It's like hot potato, your leg pushing from one side to another side, kind of catching and pushing. If you want to move your arms, we create body action or at least a hip action. That's a start. If we want to create a beautiful posture, it's not about us looking up and trying to stretch, to direct, to physical. Yes, it's going to be only making it us feeling much more restricted and stiffer. It's all about creating that movement with opposition. Knees going back, pelvis forward, ribs closing in, stretching. So our posture is one system that will create a bit of opposition. So our posture is something very mobile, but not restrictive. Sounds good? Alrighty guys, mistake number 2 is very common and oftentimes there is a bit of a misconception there. Oftentimes people try to slide their feet in order to have a bit more smoother or perhaps more powerful step. More bigger step means more powerful, but in reality, no. We're trying to avoid sliding our feet. You might ask why. In particular, you might have seen some top level dancers sliding feet. Let me explain. Every beat that we have, let's say in Cha-Cha-Rumba, beat number 2 or beat 3, we divide it into halves. So beat 2 will be 2 and. Beat 3 will be 3 and. Okay? So on the first part, on the first half of the beat, we arrive over our foot, our standing leg. On the second part, we release, rotate, create the settling down, body action, hip action to make the next step. So it's always like a conveyor like this. 2 and, 3 and, 4 and, 1 and. Still arriving 4 and 1 and we have a little bit more time. We can go a little bit deeper if it's rumba. In cha-cha, it's still going to be pretty fast. So if you're sliding your foot, you're smudging arriving and arriving later than needed. It means you don't have enough time or no time at all for the settle, for the release. Settle and release are vertical. If you slide in trying to move it, again, look at the mistake number 1. We don't want to just jam and move our hips in order to create action. You might ask, I've seen top level dancers doing it. Why? It's a choice of power versus freedom and rhythm. There is a monster truck or Toyota truck, very powerful, versus Ferrari. Very elegant, but sometimes it's a street car, yes, but it doesn't fly all the time. There is a lot of power inside, smoothness, but when needed, it can be really, really fast. So this is the idea as well. It's a choice. Try to avoid sliding your feet. We always want to arrive or place all of the foot on the first letter of the count. So beat 2, 2, I already place. First part I arrive, first half, and then second part and the release and settle to make the next step. There are a couple exceptions that are possible. For instance, cruzada walk, if you've done samba before, it's a bouncing but very progressive movement. So when we collect and grow and making the step, we can push and slide a little bit to arrive and to make that step over. That's possible. For ladies, the second step, when you do alemana, we're making first step a bit smaller, and then we can do that extension step, make it a little bigger to step out from that smaller base. Then it's okay. That's kind of extension step, extended step. Okay, but in regular basis action, we're trying not to slide to make it much more rhythmical and free in the body. Sounds good? All right, mistake number 3 out of 5 has to do with the arm movement. As I mentioned in the previous videos, or even in this video, point number 1, our arm movement comes from moving our weight, moving our hips, moving our body. I've done quite a few videos on this, you can check it out. So I'm gonna go really briefly through it, but I'm gonna add something extra today that I have never talked about yet. So here it is. So every time we do the pendulum, our hips connected to the elbow. We move pendulum, elbow comes out, we rotate our body, arm rotates. And then we do the pendulum, arm brought in. We rotate, arm rotates to come out. So arm is always moving in sections, and there is a rotation in the body, causes a rotation in the arm, and then we repeat again. But here is the trick. Your arm and the body are not moving parallel or simultaneously. It's action-reaction, which means it's sequential. It means my body is always going, leg's body is always a little bit earlier. There's an expression that I use with my students. It's called root of the arm. It means your body is always the one moving first and arm is reacting. So you have to do it very, very slowly. So instead of moving the hips and arms, rotate and turn and move at the same time. That's already good. But to make it better and much more genuine, and to be able to link the arms together, we have to do it in a different way. Your body is always starting, so a bit of delay, a bit of tension there. Body, arm comes out. So in order to rotate, I start rotating my body, my arm reacts. I'm starting to move my weight in my body, my arm reacts, comes in. Arm is smaller, can be extension, but it can move much more faster. Our body is never fast. Our body can be continuous. Our arms and legs can be fast. Okay? So the idea again, coming back here, that you rotate your body first, your arm reacts. You move your body, your arm will react to it. Even if I want to lift my arm up, I don't just move the arm and the body. I always start body, arm goes. Body, arm goes. In passo doble in particular, you do the body, the arm reacts. There is, again, root of the arm that your body shapes, and then arm will follow that shape and create that volume between them two. Does this sound good? Do not move your arms in a parallel way or just moving the arms by themselves. It's always about what you do in the body. That's why when I teach my students, I always focus on keeping the frame, but focusing on the legs, on the body first. Legs mainly. Legs are always working. And then already allowing arms to stem from it. That's the key for us. All right, now we're on mistake number 4, and that's the most technical part. Why technical? Because it has to do with the timing. When we talk about timing, we talk about size. So think in this way. Our technique, body mechanics, are always secondary or come after the music and timing. The technique came not just, okay, we've done technique and then we hear the music and we're trying to jam those actions, those rules of the movement into it. The music came first. And then people dance to it and then, okay, we have that much time, that's the speed of the music, so we can do that. So the technique came after the awareness of the music. Why is it more technical, the most difficult one? Because you're not only thinking about what your body is doing, but you're paying attention to the music all the time. So we already talked a little bit about it in the previous mistakes when I talk about that we divide cha-cha-ramba in two halves, 2 and 3 and 4 and. But here's the trick. Whenever there is a full beat or half beat, it's an action. So on the first part, it's an action to step. Second part, there is a action to set or release and go. But everything that is smaller than half a beat then becomes a reaction. It's very, very small. Oftentimes, in particular in samba, where you have 3/4, 1/4. Yes, 3/4 of the beat, 1/4 of the beat, and a full beat. Yes, oftentimes people act on the 1/4 beat and always being too late. Okay, because when you act, it becomes too big. It's really, really fast. So if in samba we have count 1, 2, yes, 2 beats, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Yes, that's the samba. So that's the kind of close to the speed of samba. So would you say that when I'm saying 1, 2, the beat 1 is less than a second? So can you imagine now, is 1/4 of it. It's super fast. So if you're trying to go 1, 2, if you're trying to create it, if you're trying to make it too big, you will not make it to 2. So 1 and 2, the is always very small. So here's the rule, yes? Our action or reaction is always matching the beat value. So the slower the music, the more bigger, more voluminous action you can create. The more compact, the more faster the music is, the more compact, the smaller steps you make, the lesser action. That's why this is a lot of judges, good judges I would say, discussing about and talking about that we don't want to see ramba in cha-cha-cha. There is, yes, rotation, there is still hip movement, but it's not as rotary. There is not that much lower, deeper action in cha-cha-cha as it's in rumba. Because cha-cha is faster, so there is a lot of more linear action. So if I'm trying to go 8 slower like this, but the moment I'm going it faster, there's maybe a moment when it becomes super linear. So when you're doing lockstep, there's not much body movement, but make it more flickier. Is it still rotation? Yes, but much higher. So if rumba, I can go deeper to the hip to create rotation, cha-cha, much higher. Yeah, so you always have to match and feel what's the feeling of the music, of the rhythm, and put it in the same way into the body. I know it's taken actually quite a bit of experience to try to get through it, but I'm giving a shortcut. So always pay attention and be aware of the music. So yes, newcomers learn the steps first. Yeah, they're trying to make the step. But the moment newcomers starting to grow to the next level, immediately be aware of how much time you have. When you practice it, don't practice to do it 100% slowly. Yes, do it still slowly, but don't do it too big. Yes, if you know that is really fast, then be aware of how big your movement is. And that's the key for the point number 4. Alrighty guys, here's mistake number 5. And it has to do with overthinking. And some people prone to it to do a little bit more, and some people perhaps doing less, but everyone have it at some point of time. So the idea is, whenever you practice and whenever you're drilling something, go ahead and analyze it from A to Z. However, whenever you're starting to perform or dancing with music, social dancing, turn your mind off and trust your body. And you have to practice doing this, okay? So when you're doing something slowly, yes, you can manage it, you can learn it, you can push it, you can really try to analyze it. But the moment the music kicks in particular more faster music or the real speed, try to turn your mind off. You can think about one thing in general. Okay, I'm just looking out, I'm feeling that, I'm feeling the energy, I look at and create eye contact with the audience, or I feel my partner, something very general. Even when you practice with the partner slowly, pick only one thing and focus on it. Stay in it 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 20 minutes, well, better no more than 20 minutes. And then let it go, perhaps think about something else. Create something else, but only one, and then practice with the partner. Later you can combine them. But again, try to focus only on the one part slowly. The moment things go fast, it's very difficult to think about all the parts. Oh, I have to settle, project, I have to listen to the music, pay attention to the audience and my partner and lead her or follow him. It's very, very difficult. So try to learn to let things go and have fun. There is a reel I made on Instagram, and in it I have mentioned this. And I think this is very, very important, so I'm going to repeat it here. Do not substitute dancing with learning how to dance. So whenever you go out there and having fun, have fun. Turn your mind off. Be intuitive. Practice of being intuitive. Even if you feel that you need to control it to make it work. No. Don't control it. Let your body lead it. Okay? Then you can actually ignite it. Once you're allowing it to happen, you can observe yourself from outside. And okay, you can add a little bit more of this part, but only one aspect. Sounds good? That's the key for any type of dancing you're doing. Do not overthink. Paralysis from analysis, avoid it. And here we guys go. Those were the 5 most common, biggest mistakes or misconceptions that people need to be aware of it. Starting from here, changing a bit of mindset in order to become much more natural and happier dancer. Let's review it all. So most of the time, we approach things indirectly. Want to move something? Think about it that we have a system and how that change and what we do, making sure that the whole system is working. Want to move the hips? Use the legs. You want to move the arms? It's still the body. Remember, the legs are the ones that working the most because that's the primary connection with the floor, okay? Into the body. That's the key. Number 2, try to avoid sliding of your feet. That's for the control, for the balance, and much more free and much more natural body movement. So we have a bit more time for it. Number 3, about the arm movement. Remember that the body always doing something and arm is reacting. So spend a bit more slower time doing it. Focus more on the legs to the body and only after add arms. Yes, you can practice the arm on itself just to be aware how the arm moves. But the moment you're trying to connect it, always root yourself in what your legs, hips, body is doing and the arm extending. Do it very, very slowly. Number 4 has to do with your beat value, your action reaction, making sure that your size of the movement is matching the music. In particular in dances like samba and jive, because in cha-cha and rumba it's mainly we divide it in halves. We don't really divide into quarters there. And probably quarter, in my mind, is the smallest part that we divide in Latin. To divide into 1/8, it's really fast, it's really tiny. Maybe some top world pros doing something, but I only teach the smallest unit is a quarter, just to make it, again, reacting. So even in samba, when you grow, and not trying to use the knee right away, grow first, and that's your action. A-2, you always want to come back. Make sure you're dancing within that bar, 3/4, quarter 1. In jive, 2/3, third full, 2/3, third full. It has to match to create that swing action. Because in jive we have the tenor rhythm, 2/3, third full, more swinging action. Some people do teach it. In the book it used to be 3/4, quarter 1. Still is, so some people still teach it, but if you want to create the swing, it's a tenor rhythm, 2/3, third full, 2/3, third full. You can play with that if you really listen to the swing jive music. And lastly, try to avoid overthinking. Avoid the paralysis from analysis. Let it go, let your body be intuitive. And that's the natural way for us to dance. Anyone can do it. I'm perhaps one of the least natural dancers possible, but I've learned, and I've learned where to try to focus to let the body go. Yeah, so spend time on it. Anyone can do it. If I was able to do it, you can do it too. Here it is, guys. If it was useful, please give me a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, or even better, share this video with your dance buddies. So that will definitely help us to grow together. Don't forget, every heart can and should dance, and I'll be looking forward to see you next week. Bye now.